Jules Vogel, thank you so much. Beautiful. Beautiful. So welcome everyone to Unity of Tustin again on another beautiful Sunday morning, and Happy New Year, everyone. Woo! It is wonderful to see all of you, those of you inside, outside, online. We're all one big community and we love having you all. So I am Lisa Colabar. It is, of course, my great pleasure to serve on your board. Before we get started, just a little reminder, please silence your cell phones. And the first thing I'd like to do is announce that our choir is back. So we have just calculated that it has been 22 months since we have had our choir. So absence makes the heart grow fonder, and we cannot wait to hear all of you today. So this will be under the direction of Carol Roman and accompanied again by Jules Vogel. And so for our moment of gratitude today, we want to take a moment to honor all of you. We know it's so much work, it takes so much time, so much dedication, and you are all so beautiful, such beautiful souls and beautiful singers. And we just thank you and we welcome you back. Yeah. Okay, so with that, it's probably a perfect time for me to give you a little COVID update, like not the most fun of updates, but we need to do it. So you're going to see that all the singers are going to be keeping their masks on. We actually are going to just mandate now that everybody be fully masked within the sanctuary, regardless if you're on the platform or you're sitting, in a seat. Just want everybody to be safe. We also ask a couple of things. One, we're learning more and more about masks, so if you could maybe change out your cloth mask or one of the simple masks for something that looks more like a duckbill like this, your KN95s and those kind of things. Those are just going to help protect people a little bit more. And then also we really think the biggest thing that we can all do to help protect each other is just not show up when you're sick. So if you've got a little bit of a cough, even if you just start coughing within the sanctuary, if you want to step out, if it's just a little tickle in your throat, fine, come back in. But if it's something a little bit more than that, then, that's why we have a service online. So anyway, we're just going to respect each other, respect the California rules, and we'll continue to ebb and flow, with the whole thing as we've been doing for the last 2 years. So thank you for your understanding and accommodation of that. Also, I forgot to mention the first couple of seats. So you see the choirs in the seats. From now on, the choirs here, great, but we're going to usually just leave these open, right? And then there'll be more space between the platform speakers and the singers and whatnot. Okay, so with that, Whitestone Weekend, which is just an exciting weekend, one that we all look forward to, I know every year, is next Sunday, January 9th. So John writes in the book of Revelations that the white stone carries a new name and the spiritual identity and a deeper awareness of what God has planned for you. And that's always a time of deepening and, allowing that word to come to us and allowing what we're going to focus on for the next year to take place. So Shara will be here next week, and she will walk us through that sacred ritual at the 11 a.m. service, and so you won't want to miss that. Following that, I'm going to do a shameless plug for our community meeting. So I am excited about our community meeting this year. It'll be 1 o'clock right after following the service, same day. And if you guys remember, a year and a half or so ago, we did our little strategic initiative cube where we all laid out what we're going to be working on for the next year. Well, we have another cube, a new cube. And we also have some exciting things that we want to share with you about how we're working together as a broader leadership team and breaking the silos down and just really coming together. And we're excited about it, and I think you're going to be excited when you hear about it too. So please join us either in the sanctuary or online for that. Now, with that, we have January birthdays because it's the first of the month. Please rise. I am going to stay standing because I'm a Capricorn. So all Capricorns and those that follow. Yay, January. Okay, so now you think I'm done, huh? But I'm not. I know. In fact, I've got something that you guys are going to love to hear about. I do. So, I was thinking about how I was going to announce this, and I was thinking about, sometimes people come to us in our lives and we don't know why, right? And sometimes they might even be around for a short time, and they might leave us, and we might be disappointed in that, and we maybe don't understand why that happened. And I think that is such with Reverend Clive. I think he came to us for a short time, but in that short time, he brought us Shara. And we would not have had Shara had not for him to have come and to have been in our lives and to make this fabulous recommendation. So I'm going to get to a point in a minute, but for many of you who don't know Shara's background, I just want to do a little bit. So Shara has a master in counseling. She's a licensed psychotherapist. She's the founder of an organization called We Get Better. This really focuses on organizational leadership and community-based healing programs. She's done a lot of work, for example, with the Department of Justice in New Mexico and various other organizations. She is a graduate of Richard Rohr's Living School, which I think many of us know and follow ourselves. She has a diploma in Central European Studies out of Krakow, Poland. Yeah, so internationally studied. I think that's very impressive. She was a Unity Ministerial School candidate before coming to us, but also she was, before coming to us, an ordained minister in the movement of spiritual inner awareness. So with all that little bit about her background, I just have to say, when I first saw her resume, I think it took me like a nanosecond to say, yes, we would love to meet with Ms. Shara Moscinska. And you know how the rest of it is unfolded, right? And many of you also know that she's been in field licensing since she's been here. So I would like to read, well, maybe look back a second. So what was it, a month or so ago? I can't remember. Things are so hectic right now. But Reverend Jude, her mentor, came to campus. We had lunch with the whole board, which is fantastic. And so what I would like to do is just read a little bit of a letter that we recently received from Reverend Jude. So Reverend Jude says, I'm delighted to be a small part of Shara's journey in the field ministry program, and I'm honored to serve her and Unity of Tustin as you move forward in your ongoing service to the world. It is with great pleasure, wait, I'm going to start that again because it is a good sentence. It is with great pleasure that I let you know that Shara Moscinska is now a licensed Unity minister. And with that, please join me in welcoming Reverend Shara Moscinska. All yours.
Thank you. Wow. I thought that was going to be a small thing. Oh, I'm just so overjoyed and filled with delight and honor and amazement at the unfolding of life, the way we can't predict or plan what unfolds. But God comes through with a third way that we don't know and that guides. You know, it's like the labyrinth. We're always on the perfect walk home. And that I ended up here as my home. Oh, my goodness, I gotta work on this breathing thing. I sound a little bit like Darth Vader. But you know, the dark, the light, the force, it's all God, right? But it's just beyond. So I wore my Reverend bling, you know. Next, I'll be driving in a Corvette and, screeching. But Sorry if you at home, if I'm blinding you with the reflection, but I'm just shining my light that is mirrored and strengthened by all of you and this amazing community with so many pillars. So many of you create this community through decades of service, of generosity, of love, of commitment. And I have the privilege of finding myself in the middle of such mature spiritual goodness. And I commit to serve in the best way I can in alignment with Spirit. And I am so grateful. So thank you. Thank you all. God bless. And I think I'm supposed to now do some logistical announcements. So let me kind of switch into more practical consciousness and just let you know a couple of wonderful things that are coming up in 2022. So in addition to having new things like the choir come back after 22 months, we're having our first workshop in the sanctuary where John Selby is going to be here at the end of January. I believe Friday the 29th, I believe, and all day Saturday the 30th. It is going to be $150 a ticket, and that includes lunch. There's only room for 25, and the tickets open up at 12. So get right on your phones, do Eventbrite, Unity Tustin, John Selby, find it, buy your ticket. We have the vision that he will come back, but we will start small. To keep it safe, it's vaccinated only or a negative test within the last 48 hours. And we look forward to this wonderful workshop. And then also to deepen in our own knowing, which is the foundation of peace. When we know ourselves, we know and accept other, and we can be responsive rather than reactive. We will be doing that deep dive into the Enneagram starting not this Monday, but next Monday online. So if you are on the fence, please do register, because we do want to know who's coming so we can start giving out some preliminary information. So those are my announcements for today, and let us begin with Surely the Presence. God bless.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
I'm Stephanie Aho, one of your prayer chaplains here at Unity of Tustin. And it's my great honor and joy to continue the opening of our service with the ritual of the lighting of the Christ candle and the reading of today's daily word. The Christ candle, of course, symbolizing that divine light that resides in each of us and connects us to that Christ spirit. And today, Sunday, January 2nd, 2022, the word is clarity. The affirmation, time spent communing with God gives me clarity. And the scripture from 1 Corinthians 13, inspiring today's reading, is, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part. Then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known." When I gaze toward the heavens on a moonlit night, I expect to see twinkling stars and constellations. But if I use a telescope, I can see details with much greater clarity. This example could describe my spiritual life as well. I may go about my day mindful of my blessed feelings, blissful feelings, and kinship with all the people and all life. These things and more are the fruits of my faith. But I find clarity during times of intentional contemplation. When I meditate upon the truth, I feel the presence of God fill my consciousness and touch my heart. This clarity informs my thoughts, words, and actions, bringing my faith to vivid life. And again, the affirmation is, time spent communing with God gives me clarity. Join me. Time spent communing with God gives me clarity. And so it is.
Beautiful. So let's begin with a prayer for 2022. I invite you all to bring your awareness to this present moment, to this unfolding, this opportunity anchored in the Christ, anchored through Christmas and Advent preparation in the knowing and recognition that we are birthing the Christ in each and every moment. And it is our great privilege and responsibility to bring that into the world each and every day in 2022 and beyond. We affirm that there is no separation between divinity and creation. Divinity is incarnated in all that is, in us, as us. And we are living into this grace, and we are living out of this grace. And that, in the words of the late and great Betty White, we are never too old for anything. We affirm that it is our divine responsibility to try new things, take risks, make mistakes, learn and grow in love, knowing that divinity is inherent in creation, and that we abide in a field of grace where Spirit knows how to use everything for the highest good. So deny fear and walk into 2022 with love and compassion and courage and gratitude. We are an interdependent species related to each other and all of creation through divinity and through grace. Sacredly, joyously, meaningfully walking each other home. We know this, we live this, and we pray this with gratitude in the name and after the nature of the indwelling Christ presence, the living love that creates and connects all that is, that creates and connects us all. Happy New Year. Happy New You. Happy 2022. The blessings already are. We are so graced by you, Carol. Your excellence and your brilliance just anchors spirit in such a beautiful way. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, let us take that beauty, that skill, that talent, that love, and let it anchor us into our awareness of the holiness of this present moment. And if you are comfortable, I invite you to close your outer eyes and open your inner eyes, the eyes of the heart, and allow yourself to feel in your body where you are in the flow, without any blockages, to fully experience the love and the grace That is the field of reality, the ground of your being. That amazing field of grace and mercy and divine living love. Our first unity principle maintains that we are one with God. You are one with God, not separate and not being watched, but immersed in the divine. And I invite yourself to visualize yourself as oneness with God without being watched by God. Notice how this seeing presents itself. Notice what changes and what emerges. We live and move and have our being in God, in oneness. And God lives and moves and has expression in us. See this spirit of oneness that's immanent and transcendent. It's within and beyond. The ground that creates and connects the manifest realm and leads all things into love. Leads you ever more deeply into love. The grace of God's Spirit within you that makes you and everything so beautiful. Now I invite you to use these words as your own. I enter into the stillness to align myself with the one mind and the one presence that permeates all of creation. I feel myself as part of this creation, connected to all nature. I am the light and darkness. I am the oceans and the land. I am the rocks and trees, the fish and birds, the beasts of the earth. And I am one with every human being on the planet. In this oneness, I sense the order of all things. I feel the divine love that moves in me and in every molecule of the cosmos. I know the divine intelligence that is the foundation of all that is or ever will be. I am one with all. Open me to grace upon grace upon grace. Open me to grace upon grace upon grace in the silence. And as you bring your awareness back to the sound of my voice, we extend this field of grace to all of those on our prayer list here at Unity of Tustin, and all of those in our minds and heart, as we feel into the gentle grace of our music from the new debut of our Unity Choir. Alleluia. Thank you for your beauty and your grace. That was incredible. You know, that's the mystery of grace. You know, it unfolds to the highest good. And we need to be strategic in this three-dimensional world. And we also need to leave room for that unfolding. It's beautiful to live on campus and to see how this campus is used by the community. On New Year's Day, I'm quite certain there was this family taking turns walking the labyrinth. A lot of teenagers in the family. And I'm quite sure they were doing an intentional grief acknowledgement. And then meeting and grieving with awareness and intention. And then yesterday, as I was picking up the lanterns, this beautiful woman just said, I feel angels here. You know, this is such an amazing place. And I gave her a little bit of information, and she's like, well, I'm an hour away. Are there other places like this? And then her friends came, and then they knocked on my door and said, can we do a ceremony here? They wound up doing this beautiful ceremony in the middle of the labyrinth. And I asked if I could participate. They welcomed me. I was there for about 2 hours. And it was incredible. There was this amazing synchronicity where there was many connections to this campus. So then I wound up going out to lunch with them all. They assured me it was a quick lunch. Table of 11, Spanish speaking, being translated with so much love. And 3.5 hours later, they drive me back here. You know, and of advanced spiritual practitioners, every single one of them, looking for a place to do ceremony and to celebrate their deep connection to spirit. And this was an intention. How do we outreach to the community? So we have strategy and we follow God. And that's how it works. That's how it works. And I am learning how to surrender to that space more and more. There are different rules. There are different laws in the field of grace. And we trust into them in faith. You know, faith is that first step. And faith is the first power of January. Because that's the cornerstone of our cooperation with Spirit and living thy will and not my will. That is faith. So I wore this partly because I got my new Reverend white stone. I also wore it because I don't know if any of you noticed, Erin is inviting us all to celebrate the power of the month by wearing the color of the month the first Sunday of the month. And for Faith, it's dark blue. And then finally, I'm wearing a little glitz in tribute of Betty White. Now, I just discovered this. Did you know that she was a member of UoT? Exactly, Patty. I'm not surprised. And it's listed everywhere. I don't know which church, but she identified as a member of UoT. And I thought it would be wonderful to bring her energy because that is the outpicturing of our principles in action, Betty White. And she really demonstrated that what matters is not how old you are, but how you are old. So I am going to start off with some Betty White wisdom about getting older. It's not a surprise. We knew it was coming. Make the most of it. So you may not be as fast on your feet, and the image in your mirror may be a little disappointing. But if you are still functioning and not in pain, gratitude should be the name of the game. Amen. Amen. Besides, my mother used to say, the older you get, the better you get. Unless you're a banana. And people have told me, Betty, Facebook is a great way to keep in touch with old friends. At my age, if I wanted to keep up in touch with old friends, I'd need a Ouija board. Okay, the next quote is from her book, If You Ask Me, and of course you won't. I'm going to use a disclaimer. This is the words of Betty White, Unity practitioner. Okay? And try imagining it with her voice, actually. Why do people say, grow some balls? Balls are weak and sensitive. If you want to be tough, grow a vagina. Those things can take a pounding. I'm just a messenger. Finally, and this is where we see our unity principles in action. So beautiful. She says, I know it sounds corny, but I try to see the funny side and the upside, not the downside. Affirmations and denials. I get bored with people who complain about this or that. It's such a waste of time. I'm a big cockeyed optimist. I try to accentuate the positive as opposed to the negative. That sounds like unity, doesn't it? Yes. And then, she had that, you're never too old for anything. So she exemplifies our principles in action, what it means not to bypass difficulty, but to deny it and turn our consciousness to the grace and gratitude that is in every moment, and to see it and to be it. It's beautiful. And I thought she was particularly good to start with because this 2022, the spiritual ministry team is going to be taking deeper dives into our 5 unity principles. We're going to be excavating them and feeling their fields and finding how they can inform us and our expression more and more. Because that is the foundation to this wonderful attitude and consciousness of living love that we have the possibility to express with ever more clarity. So I'll be really borrowing from Ellen Davenport's 2009 Modern Unity classic called The 5 Principles, A Practical Guide to Spirituality. So if you're interested, look up that book, Ellen Davenport, The 5 Principles, because it will help. It'll be a lovely guide as we go through this deep dive over the next several months. And it's also wonderful because our 5 principles go so beyond unity. When we talk about the principles, we are learning about that ocean of mystery that is underneath all spiritual traditions. So we're really diving into the heart of love, the heart of the big questions. Who am I? Why am I here? What is this mystery of creation? How am I part of it? How do I align with it to be it in expression? How do I help evolve God? through my own very life? These are the questions, and the principles are those universal wisdoms that have been culled throughout time. And even in our tradition, the 5 unity principles were only gathered in the 1990s by Connie Fillmore, who is the granddaughter of the Fillmores, and she was asked, what are the foundations of our movement for Unity magazine? She wrote them, and they became as close to dogma as we get. And it's nice. It's nice to have some succinct foundational pieces, the structure of spiritual tradition, even though our interpretation can be very different. That's where there's a flexible practice rather than dogma. And what's so important is to recognize that these principles are principles that have been known and shared throughout humanity. So we will be focusing this month on principle 1. So before we get into this, does anyone, I have a mic here, does anyone want to get 2022 Gold Star and tell us what the 5 principles are? Who can do it? Who can do, even if you can do 3? Yes, Stephanie Aho is cautiously raising her hand. Let's hear it.
There's only one power and one presence, God the Good. That presence and power resides within each individual. 3 is, let's see. That we create our experience through our thoughts.
Correct.
That might be 5.
Nope,
Or
you
4.
got it. You got
That's
it.
4. Okay, 4 is we create our experience through our thoughts. I know what this is. And we prayer and meditation are how we deepen these beliefs, and it doesn't matter about all the first 4 unless we live it.
Woo! Yay! You took a risk. You did it. God used it for good. That was beautiful. Yes. God, goodness, thoughts, prayers, action. God, goodness, thoughts, prayers, action. That's what it's about. And the first principle is that God is good and everywhere present. And this is recapitulated in so many spiritual traditions. The Buddhist sutras envisioned a net stretching in all directions. The Hopis spoke of Spider Grandmother, who spun a great web connecting all things. Many Native American and indigenous communities end their prayer with Homatakwiasan, which means all my relations, forward and backwards, the connection of life throughout time and space. As Craig teaches, the absolute goodness of God can be seen as the Tao, or the flow of the universe. The hymn of creation from the Hindu Rig Veda speaks of the absolute, Brahman, and describes it as ultimate, eternal, and beyond human description, the ground of being, of infinite reality. We hear the names God, Holy Spirit, the universe, the way, Father, Mother, Creator, Divine, One Mind, Source, Energy, First Cause. And thanks to Star Wars and my hard breathing, even the Force. It's also been named Allah, Buddha, Yahweh, Christ, Kali, Shiva, Krishna, Kuan Yin, so many others. All these names of the divine. The physicist Max Planck, who originated quantum theory, spoke of it as conscious and intelligent mind. Sounds a lot like the Fillmores, too. It's this place of pure potential, the energy that underlies all of creation, the intelligent, loving energy that undergirds all of creation, that undergirds you. It's all that is. All that is, and that is the foundation of peace. And I think it's wonderful to talk about the cosmic similarities because it gets away from our shadow of specialness that has been the root of so much war throughout creation. For example, in John 15, Jesus says, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit because apart from me you can do nothing. And in John 14, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Those verses in scriptures have been used to try to justify Christianity as the exclusive way to God. But we can see all the way back from the Bhagavad-Gita. It states, all things are in me, and I in them. Know that as the mighty wind blowing everywhere rests in the sky, all created beings rest in me. I am the Father, the Mother, the supporter, and the grandsire of the universe. And Ellen Davenport even had a crisis of faith when she discovered that the myth of a virgin mother whose divine son died and rose again was an ancient expression of collective consciousness predating Christianity. Wow. Yeah. There's an expansiveness there. You know, a divine and glorious humility. And these types of myths are really beautifully cultivated and taught by Alexander John Shaya, if you ever want to look him up. He is a Lebanese, Alabama-born and raised Christian anthropologist. And he really culls the world's religions and myths to discover the unconscious myths that Christianity is overlaid upon, which actually gives it a richness and a depth and a soulfulness. These are the stories of the soul of humanity looking to discover and understanding itself. So this oneness of all that is means that God is everywhere present and that God is omnipotent, omnipresent, omniscient, not all-powerful, but all-power, not all-knowing, but all-knowledge, present everywhere in the rocks and the stars and the animals and the people, in you, in the neighbor you don't like. And this even includes the darkness. You know, the dark matter that physicists are increasingly telling us is most of the universe. And that the Bible also reveals as luminous. The psalmist says, surely the darkness shall cover me, and the light around me becomes night. And darkness and light night. The darkness and light are both alike to you. Just breathe that in. There is not a spot where God is not. And what does it mean to see that? What does it mean to be that? Because putting on this oneness is not easy. We are schooled in duality. We are schooled in right, wrong, hot, cold, up, down, bad, good, us, them. You know, even terms that we use, like relationship with God, implies a type of duality. So what we know, or what I affirm to be true, is that in the fullness of time, all events, whether seemingly good or bad, lead to evolution, compassion, and love. That is grace. That is grace, knowing that everything is being orchestrated for a higher order in the fullness of time. Eve's fall leads to the evolution of consciousness from unconscious unity into the journey we are on, into conscious unity. Job suffers every worst fear of our hearts. And through the experience, he evolves the capacity to have direct experience with God. Judas betrayed Jesus, but this betrayal allowed Jesus to meet injustice with forgiveness, which showed us the blueprint of resurrection, which showed us the blueprint of birth, death, and rebirth, order, disorder, reorder, life, death, resurrection. So this is the promise. The allness of God creates a field of grace that resolves all experience into love in the fullness of time. So we can trust this process. We can live into it. And we can keep going. Richard Rohr says, when you go to the full depths and suffering, death, sometimes even the depth of your error ways, you will always come out on the other side. And the word for that is resurrection. And it's made possible through the grace that's available to all. How y'all doing? Yeah. You know, this is complicated too because we can't get complacent in it. We know that God is going somewhere good, but we cannot get complacent. Martin Luther King reminded us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Life is going somewhere and it's going somewhere good. However, Ta-Nehisi Coates reminds us that is not consolation for the individual life snuffed out by injustice. Right? So it's both end. And Jesus shows us the way. Jesus shows us that we can have one foot firmly planted in the kingdom of heaven, where we know the kingdom of heaven is at hand. And we know that we are part of this field of justice that is resolving everything into love. And we can have one foot planted in the teaching that how we treat the least among us today is how we treat the Christ. Right? We do both. We do both, and every level has its due. And Jesus shows us how to live and navigate and express love and learn in all of those levels, because that is the truth. Life is our school. Life is our curriculum for the soul. Everything that happens has an inherent meaningfulness. And when we catch up with that meaningfulness, whatever it took to get there has served an unfolding good. And all is made whole in God. The car agrees with me. So, many of you know that my oldest daughter's name is Grace. And Ellen Davenport has this wonderful practice where she invites us to every decade revisit our theology, revisit our belief, because unity is about the evolution of consciousness. So as we evolve in consciousness, our relationship and understanding of grace and love and divinity is going to evolve as well. And we want to catch up with ourselves. The Bible documents that for humanity. The Bible is documenting how God grows up in love through time as a reflection of our capacity to see the expansion and evolution of love through time. Because God is a reflection of what we can see and know. So that's why we have to have an updated version of God, because your version of God will define you. How do we keep it growing? So I first became pregnant. 3 days later, I found out my mom had terminal cancer, and I lost that pregnancy. After she passed, 6 months later, I got pregnant again. And my mom would come to me in beautiful dreams and visions. And when she would come to me, she would be wearing this bright red sweater, and everything was the same except the way her body moved. You know, my mom would have her big pocketbook, and she'd be like, "I'm hot." God bless her, beautiful woman. In the visions, she moved like a dancer. She just had this otherworldly flow to her body that I had never seen. And it was consistent. She came to me in this meditation, and she says, with urgent sincerity, she says, "Shara, you are pregnant with a girl, and you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. You have a life of grace. You have a life of grace." And I named my child Zoe Grace, which means life of grace. And my mother had undiagnosed, out-of-control generalized anxiety disorder. So I came home on time, not because of obedience, but because of compassion to Mama. Because if I was 5 minutes late, she was hysterical. And I was a teenager of the 80s, so I had a curfew way later than it should have been to begin with. But so at first, I thought the message was, you don't have to worry like I did, because nothing bad is going to happen. You have a life of grace. And I do think for that time, that was a proper interpretation and a helpful one, because I don't know how much more I could have borne during that time of many losses. But as I spiritually matured, I realized, well, no, grace is not just when things go my way. Grace is not the absence of suffering. Grace is knowing that God is good and everywhere present, and even if I can't see it, no matter how much suffering I may feel, one foot is planted in the reality that it is going somewhere and going somewhere good in the fullness of time. And that even when I am brought to my knees and am suffering beyond what I think I can bear, a part of me knows it's going somewhere good. And I still keep that knowledge. And many of you know, my mom doesn't come to me in dreams and visions anymore the way she used to, but I feel her here on this holy campus. I feel her from my first time I spoke here last January when I found the hummingbird right before service at Hummingbird House. And I feel it every time I pray at the Guadalupe. And my mother had a deep mystical relationship to the Virgin Mother. But now I also see that my mom's sincerity was coming from the vision and the perspective that comes when we cross over. And from the perspective of the other side, I know through her that we can see that everything is grace, that we have a life of grace, that everything is going somewhere good. And we, every single one of you, will know and will have access to the greater cosmic expansion of love beyond what we can know in this human form. It is for sure. We will see it with clarity. And we can live today with the faith of knowing that what we don't know is good. So from the wisdom of my mother to you, you have nothing to worry about. You have nothing to worry about. You have a life of grace. Enjoy it full out in 2022. And God bless you.
Happy New Year, everyone. Is there anyone with us for the first time today? If you'd raise your hand, welcome. I wonder if your New Year's resolution was, I'm going to go to church in 2022. Thank you for being with us today. There's a name tag in there. We'd like to have you fill it out so we know that you're with us for the first time today. Please join us at hospitality out on the patio. Before we talk about our tithes and love offerings, we talk sometimes about the different reasons, the different sources for why we give to our spiritual community. And today I wanted to mention that, Unity of Tustin is a beautiful idea. We're committed to peace, we're committed to higher consciousness, and we're committed to oneness. And so when we give, our gifts are partly to support this idea, to support this campus where Shara can run into someone that she ended up spending, half the day with. There are all these kinds of things that your gifts and tithes go to support. So let's say the love offering blessing together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. And as the ushers come forward, our choir has another gift for us. So as we bless these tithes and love offerings, we remember the words to a song that we sang in this sanctuary for many years at the end of every service. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Anyway, thank you all for being here today. And Shara will have her salon at 1:15. Okay, but before then we have cake celebrating Reverend Shara. So let's say the prayer for protection together. Pardon? Oh. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Go forth in grace.